Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by acknowledging the strength of the U.S. banking sector. In recent events that unfolded related to SVB, Signature, and First Republic, it highlighted the significant consequences that could occur when bank execs prioritize profits over risk management, and also when banking regulators fail to do their job. Regulators left numerous red flags unaddressed, which allowed the inexcusable risk management practices at these banks to continue for as long as they did. Let's be clear, this inaction played a significant role in these banks' ultimate demise. However, the mismanagement and excessive risk-taking that occurred within these institutions are not representative of the broader banking sector. In fact, I think it's quite contrary. Banks across the board have proven to be resilient, well-capitalized, and a source of strength in the global economy. In fact, I think you see that the U.S., comprised of banks of all sizes, is the world's most dynamic banking system. I'm concerned, though, with impending actions of the Federal Reserve that in itself will be jeopardized. If you look, community banks, for instance, have served our individuals in our small and rural communities across not only my great state of Alabama, but across our entire country in ways that have allowed individuals and small businesses to actually be able to achieve the American dream and to thrive. However, over the past decade, we've seen a significant decline in the number of community banks serving Americans. The U.S. has lost 71% of total banks in the last 4 decades, and unfortunately, smaller banks have made up a large portion of this. And just in the last decade, the number of community banks dropped by nearly 40%. That is completely and totally unacceptable. When we look at the vital role that they play in each and every one of our communities, we have to make sure that that strength is maintained and not undercut. In the face of these declining numbers, the Federal Reserve is considering proposals that could further contribute to the decrease in small and mid-sized banks. Chair Powell, as the Fed is considering changes to the current banking regulatory framework, including stricter capital requirements that Vice Chair Barr has advocated for, how is the Federal Reserve evaluating the downstream impact of these on our smaller community banks?
So I think community banks, when we think of community banks, we think $10 billion and under mainly, but in assets. But I don't think under $100 billion. I don't think the proposals that are under consideration are really applying to those banks. So I think that it shouldn't be a factor for smaller institutions, which, as you point out, have been declining in number for 30 years.
So what do we do to support them? From your perspective, what is the Fed doing to support community banks and rural banks or creating conditions where they can thrive?
So there are these secular forces that are driving interstate banking and also just population moving out of, you see rural areas that have lost half their population, things like that. So we can't do much about that. The piece of it that we understand that declining numbers of community banks is not a good thing for the country. The country isn't better off for that happening. And so we don't want to be part of the problem. And part of that can just be once fit-size regulation, high fixed costs, it will make even especially small bank models unprofitable. So we very much try hard to not be part of the problem, and we do, as an institution, very much understand how important community banks are for the economy.
Can you speak to that? Can you tell me what role you believe community banks play that maybe other institutions cannot?
So community banks are in their communities, so they know the community well, and they know the people in the community and the businesses in the community, and
relationship lenders.
It's relationship lending, yeah. It's not. I told a story yesterday, which happened to me. We were moving to Washington, and we had this big bank wanted to make the loan, and they decided not to make the loan at the last minute. I called the local community bank. The loan officer was somebody that knew my family. They knew the house. He went to my high school. He was much younger, of course. And they made the loan very quickly and they just understood it. It was going to be a great loan. We paid it off long ago. So I understand personally that they're better at doing certain things. The big banks do certain things very well, but they don't do that very well. And
And
for
I would
smaller businesses.
Absolutely. And just want your commitment that you'll continue to take a look, whatever type of additional regulating or regulation tools that are kind of perceived to be helpful to maybe some of the bigger issues, that we take a look at how they affect downstream, how they affect small banks, mid-sized banks, and that we make sure that we create conditions where they can flourish.
Yes, you very much have my commitment on that.
Thank you so much.